We have looked so far at the structural chart. We've identified internal and external kinds of problems. Now we've gone ahead and said, let's take a look at the difference between a state and a process, externally and internally. So we can see 4 different kinds of problems. But if we wanted to subdivide that farther, we have to know a little bit more. We have to know the effect of point of view, how that colors, shades, or changes the nature of what we see on the chart. Remember, we talked about the Elephant Man being a universe character, that the Elephant Man was described by his personal situation. A universe main character might also be a policeman who's described by his job, or someone who is second in command, or someone of a particular race or gender. Anything that is a fixed state, anything that describes their fixed external environment, and that is best explored through the main character, then for the main character you would pick universe. That means you won't be using universe for the obstacle character, you won't be using it for the objective story, and you won't be using it for the subjective story. A good way to make the choice is to look down below at the concerns and say, what kind of concerns are in universe? Well, here it's past, present, future, and progress. I'm actually showing you the flattened side of the chart. You see it flattens down like a periodic table of story of elements in chemistry. Actually flattens down, but it's the same thing that you see over here. And at that next level down, then you can say what kind of concerns are in there, and that will help you decide if you want those to be the concerns your main character explores, or the concerns that affect the whole story, and so on. But for now, what effect does it change? What effect does it change? No. What does it change, or what effect does it have on each one of these domains? Well, we can't do them all, because we'd have 4 points of view and say, let's look at objective, subjective, main, and obstacle, and how it affects universe. Then objective, subjective, main, and obstacle, and how it affects physics, and go on down the line. If we did that for the whole chart at all levels of depth, this would go on for 20 hours on just the one program. Instead, we're going to just use an example, and we're going to say universe, which is real simple, an external state, a fixed state of things. How is that different if we look at it through each of those 4 different points of view? Now, before we looked at universe, physics, mind, and psychology in clips, now we're going to stick with universe and say, how does universe change its feel looking at it as a main character, obstacle character, subjective story, or objective story? Okay, so in Poseidon Adventure, they're in a boat that's upside down under the water. That's the situation. Once it happens, it's fixed. Problem has started. Everybody's got the problem, not just one character. That's an objective story that takes place in universe. So if you were writing Poseidon Adventure, you would assign the objective point of view to universe, and universe would be the objective story domain. It would then not be the domain of the main character, subjective story, or obstacle character. But what is a universe story like if it's personal? Look at the difference here. Just the main character is most strongly associated with a fixed situation. So we've seen now that the Elephant Man that I mentioned before, it's his body itself that is his fixed situation. And because the situation is being explored by the main character, the objective, subjective, and obstacle character will be in the other 3 classes that are available. They will not be exploring fixed situations. One will explore an activity, one will explore a manner of thinking, and one will explore an attitude. But you can see the difference. The part that's the same is that they're 2 fixed situations, an upside-down boat and a person with a distorted body, but the flavor giving to them is whether it's an objective story with a boat or the main character domain with the Elephant Man. Here is a fixed situation. The ghosts are trapped in limbo land. They're stuck just like the people are stuck in the boat. But it's not all of the characters. Scrooge is not trapped in limbo land. Bob Cratchit's not trapped in limbo land. Only the ghosts. Only the obstacle character. So the fixed situation belongs in that story to the obstacle character. Universe is the obstacle character's domain. And now one last view of a fixed situation seen from the final point of view, the subjective story. What kind of manner could you find to describe a fixed situation that was the definition of the relationship between the man and the obstacle? Man and the obstacle have it out in a personal skirmish, a personal battle. The battleground is the subjective story. The ground covered by their two different paradigms as they argue it out over their opposite points of view is described as some fixed situation. How would you illustrate that? So I'm just going to tilt myself down here for a moment so I don't have to tilt the camera around again and simply say that we've looked now at first internal and external. Just divided it by that. Aliens was an external problem, Scrooge. And then we divided it into the four classes and said we have four classes of problem. Fixed situations, activities, internal states, and internal processes. Universe, physics, mind, and psychology. And we identified the differences among those by looking at African Queen and Die Hard and so on, The Grinch. However, now we've said let's see how point of view changes the way a single class looks. Looking at a class from a different point of view, just like looking at the eraser from a different point of view, creates a different perspective, a different flavor on the same truth. So we've looked now at four different universe stories, four different fixed situations. We first saw the Poseidon adventure with the upside-down boat, then the Elephant Man, whose body was the fixed situation, then A Christmas Carol, where the ghosts are obstacle characters, they are the ones in the limbo land, fixed situation, and finally the Defiant Ones, that's the clip that we just saw, where the two of them are chained together by a handcuff they can't take apart because the chain's too big. The fixed situation describes the relationship between the two of them.